mean, getting back settled in, going from year one as an OC to year two as an OC in an environment like this when everything was so new last year, how have you kind of approached this year maybe a little bit differently in your role now that you're a year more knowledgeable?
Yeah, no, I think the exciting part about it is you can really grow and expand from stuff that the foundation that you laid last year, you know, and then I was really happy with kind of how OTAs and training camp or mini camps went and everything. So to be able to take that and then just continue to build off that momentum and build off of what these guys did and how hard they worked in those sessions and really continue to grow, I'm very excited about. So for me personally, you know, as a play caller and developing the offense, I really feel like that just the more exposure you get to it, the more experience you get to it, the more things come naturally, the more situations that come up that now you've got that experience, and then you could you know, rely on that and then just easily react when these things happen instead of having to sit there and process it for a second, which, you know, I think anytime things just become second nature, it makes things a lot easier and a lot more fluid as in terms of the process, whether it's calling plays on game day, setting up a practice script, adjusting things in practice, you know, and there's just a lot of variables that go on in this game, and experience, you know, as you continue to grow, just continues to help that.
Ken, in that sense,
how much of a blow is the Nyheim Hines injury, and now what is, I don't know, plan B with what you were going to do with him?
Yeah, I think, you know, anytime you lose a guy like Nyheim, it's, you know, it stings, and you hate it not only for the player but for the person, you know, because he's such a quality individual and such a you know, a great teammate, a great player on this team from a locker room standpoint and a person standpoint. So that definitely stings. At the same time, like what he does and his skill set as a player, you know, there was things that we're developing there, but you know, that's part of this game. And fortunately, we've got a lot of good players on this team that will continue to step up, and their roles continue to get defined as we go. You know, and a lot of times, you know, things don't get defined fully until you're a quarter of the way through the season and games and things like that, just because of the nature of how training camps are now and the nature of preseason games and that sort of thing. So I really think that we've got a great group in that running back room. But between all the guys that we have there, James obviously continues to grow as a young player with really good veteran presence in that room to complement him. And I think we've got a good group of guys that can kind of do different things and complement each other extremely well, along with the receiver room and the tight end room. So, you know, obviously anytime you lose a guy like Nyheim, yeah, it's gonna sting a little bit because of how good of a player he is and how good of a person he is. But fortunately, the character in this locker room and the type of players that we have, I really feel like that we'll adjust and we'll grow, and that's part of the game. That's part of what you have to do as a coaching staff and as a team.
How much were you relying on Hines' dynamic ability and just his speed and what he's able to do, which some guys may have, but he's that package.
No, yeah, obviously he's a very unique player, you know, and what he can do, but that's just the nature of football, you know, and you know, fortunately, we're in the stages right now of not rushing things, you know, and we're early in camp, and you know, I think, you know, we talked about kind of with Dalton in OTAs and mini camps of building that foundation, so that then, you know, you've got that great experience of what the offense is all about. Then you grow into continuing to expand your role. So I think, you know, we're in the point of training camp right now where, yes, that happened, but now we're just going to continue to expand guys' roles and fit guys in different places, and you know, adjust whether it's personnel groupings or you know, see, hey, there might be some things that we were thinking about doing with him that we might have to pivot and say, okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to focus more on this, or we're going to try guys in those roles and see, you know, how those things work out. But I'm very confident in the guys that we have. I think we got a great group, and we'll be able to fill, you know, some of those things that he did so well, whether it's with receiver, a tight end, or another running back.
Hey,
And
Ken,
I realized-
Gabe Davis, Josh suggested yesterday maybe to get him some more easy ones. How capable is Gabe on that, turning those quick passes into big hits?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great observation. I think it's something that we'll continue to look at, and make sure that throughout the course of the season you just don't get in that rut of making sure a guy's just doing one specific thing, and continue to. I just really believe that, especially when you talk about the passing game, it's important to attack on all levels, of the field, whether it's short, intermediate, deep, and I think that's something that Gabe can do, and we'll continue to grow that role and make sure he's a part of that. I think anytime we can keep defenses off balance by saying, okay, this guy can do multiple different things, it's only going to help not only the player out but us out as an offense.
And I realize that carryover from season to season is limited at best, right? But with the benefit of hindsight, and you guys spend so much time like assessing the prior year and breaking things down, and you look at the way you've addressed things offensively as an organization this offseason. I mean, whatever the lack of explosiveness was that kind of emerged as last season came to an end, to what extent do you guys think you've addressed that? How confident are you as you get into camp here that's been addressed properly?
I think honestly the best way to look at it is offensive football is about execution, and consistent execution. And so I think the way you address it is by continuing to build pieces around an offense to make sure that you've got guys who are smart, tough, and dependable. And I think anytime we bring a player in, whether it's through the draft or through free agency offensively, those are the characteristics that we look for so that then we could still be flexible and keep defenses off balance as the season goes on, and do our best to not become predictable in what we're doing. So I think that's the exciting part of where we're at is we've got a lot of different tools and pieces that we can really move around and create some different looks, and I think that'll help really help us kind of just not only in game 1 but game 15, 16, etc. And be able to create mismatches and utilize guys in different ways.
How do you think Kincaid's presence will allow you to do that goal of not being predictable?
Yeah, I think all of our guys, that's what we really look for, whether it's Dalton, whether it's Hardy who we signed, whether it's Trent Sherfield who we signed, all these guys have the ability to be, used in different ways. You look at not only Dalton, but a guy like Trent and a guy like Hardy, those guys who have both played inside and outside, and they're multiple. They've played X, Y, X, Z, and F. So I think those are always things that you look for, so that you're not handcuffed, and the defense isn't always saying, okay, he's always going to be right here. And I think that's an important part of offensive football.
How is Dalton digesting everything? Because you said a couple weeks ago, like, you want to learn him, he's going to learn you. How is he kind of coming along progressively?
I hope I didn't misphrase it when I talked about it before, but obviously there's a vision for him. And there's a clear and way we see him and the way we want to utilize him, but I think the biggest thing is you don't want to skip steps in a player's development more so than anything. So to rush that and not let him learn the foundation of the offense and the core of who we are would be doing him and us a disservice. So I think, with him, I think he's made great strides. I think, he continues to grow. Again, in terms of smart, tough, and dependable football players, he's shown every bit of that throughout this process thus far, and we're really excited about his development. I'm sorry to cut you off.
In regards to Kincaid, if he ends up being your slot receiver for whatever percentage it's going to be, in the past, you've had these small, quick, Beasley McKenzie type guys. How does Kincaid, with his size, and how does that change maybe the route tree or how you call plays that involve this? Is it going to be a little bit different?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you rely on Dalton is again, I don't know if I don't necessarily be like the primary slot guy or whatever, because we've got a lot of different pieces that can play in that position. But when he is, either there or wherever we utilize him, one, he's got tremendous route running ability. and does a great job, as a route runner, to whether it's attacking leverage, whether it's setting up people with his stem and his route. So just the route running ability and body control to get in and out cuts, obviously, I think is good. Really undervalued for his speed and his quickness getting out of cuts, and I think that'll help him as well. And then just natural feel for the game, just things that maybe guys need like 4, 5, 6, etc. reps, but he goes out first time and just kind of has that natural feel for the game. So I think those are all just natural things that he has. And then as his rep count builds within the system, whether it's wherever he is, aligned, I think he'll just continue to grow exponentially just through those experiences.
Hardy's a physically unique player. Is there both excitement from some of the stuff he does and some challenges? I mean, he's a smaller guy. Does any of that come into play when you're thinking about his role?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that you look for more so than anything, more so than size or anything like that, is the ability to create separation. And I think that's an important factor in wide receivers, or guys that have good route running ability and can create separation. And guys can do that whether or not they run 4-3-4-4 or whether or not they run 4-5. And then some guys can't, who run 4-3-4-4 and run 4-5. So I think that's the ability that Deontay has, is the ability to create separation at the top of the routes, and a good route runner that makes it easier to throw to guys like that, whether big, small, or medium.
With Hardy in mind, last year you ranked near the top of the league in virtually every offensive category. One area that you didn't rank high on, run after yards after catch. How much, when you looked at that, how important was that when you're still sixth in passing, and was Hardy part of that?
I think it's a great question, because I think that's something that we've looked at honestly this year and in past years, going into last year as well. The emphasis on rack, and you want to be able to turn those short passes into bigger gains. And some of that is, making a guy miss. Some of that is just knifing two defenders and getting an extra 2 or 3 yards, because those things add up, So we look at all that, whether it's what we're doing conceptually or personnel-wise, ball placement-wise, with whatever it is, how we're attacking defenses. We're going to look at those things and really try to make sure we're stressing rack with these guys, and stressing that, because it's a huge part of the game. And if you could get a little bit better and a little bit better, I think it's going to pay off down the line.
With Hardy, can you kind of reflect on what happened with Steph at mandatory minicamp, and is it resolved to your satisfaction from where you sit?
Steph's been great. For me, this camp and everything. He's come in with a tremendous attitude. Let's be. He's a tremendous player. One, he's a top receiver in this league. For one, and then from my perspective, honestly, he is a great human being. I really. I believe that he's a tremendous human being, and I think to my experiences and my input with whether it's anybody in this organization, I really feel like we're in a great spot moving forward, and really excited about him and what he's bringing to this team, not only from a physical standpoint, what he could do on the field, but a leadership standpoint and who he is and what he's all about. So, I love Steph, and I'm really excited to move forward. And look, we're all, we're all human, right? And it's an emotional game, and that's going to be something that we all learn from.
Ken, Damian Harris seems like a guy that not only brings a positive attitude, but really wants to spread, make an infectious in the locker room. What kind of impact has he had so far in the room that way?
Yeah, he's awesome. Damian's just been, I don't know if I've seen him have a bad day. I don't know if he's had a headache before or anything. That's just, he's a great locker room presence, and great out on the field. physical, hard runner. Really excited to see him, in pads and in action and everything. And so just that infectious attitude really carries over. And I think he fits in well with us. You need that energy. Just going back to a guy like Steph who brings that energy. Damian brings that energy. Like you want guys on your roster that bring energy to your football team. I think that's a critical piece in this game because it's an emotional game. It's a game that you can't play like, So it's like you've got to have that emotion playing the game. So I think it's great to have a guy like that who brings that energy and juice every single day.
What kind of growth have you seen from James Cook going into his second year?
Yeah, he just continues to grow and grow. And I mean, I'm really excited about the experience he picked up last year and kind of just the way we evolved, kind of get into a more of a two-man approach last year to really, between him and Devin last season, and then just that growth that you saw because of that. So I think we're really excited about him and what he can do and the versatility that he has and the ability to have a guy with that type of versatility that's an every down back, I think is very helpful because now it's like when he comes in the game, it's not like antennas are up. He's in the game consistently. So I think a guy like that provides a lot of versatility for you and, not only as a pass catcher, but a guy you could hand the ball off to, and he'll get tough yards. He'll lower his pads and get some hidden yards. He's explosive, and I think you saw all of that last season.
When you talk about predictability and showing defenses new looks, when things when the offense kind of slowed down to a certain degree last year, efficiency-wise, was that maybe one of the takeaways you took from that?
I think when you look at it, it's just as the season goes, it's a long season, and there's ebbs and flows in a season, and there's times where no matter who you're playing, I mean, you look at the Jacksonville game a few years ago, we put up 3 points or whatever and lost to them, and I don't think they had a win yet to that point, correct? So you look at a season and there's these things that you look at and you're just like, why, and everything. And sometimes it's just the natural ebbs and flows of a long physical season, for these guys and for coaches and for everybody. So I think some of that's just the natural, honestly, ebbs and flows of a season that you just got to battle through and push through and get through and find ways, whether it's the run, relying on the run game a little bit more, whether it's, having to rely on somebody else, to step up and make plays, So I think some of that more so than anything is just the natural way a season goes. And then you do everything you can to curb that by, again, just trying to create some different looks and mismatches and things like that to get some easier, quote unquote, easier ones, which there's not a lot of easy in this league, obviously, but I think those are all things you look at and try to say, okay, how can we help these ebbs and flows? And some of that is some of the variations that we're talking about.
Do you feel that the offense did push through last year, or did it need to do more to close the season? Like I look back at the Hines game, where Hines actually returned 2 touchdowns to really pick up the scoring, which was beneficial, but the offense still had some ebbs and flows in that game. So it seemed, do you feel that you guys pushed through it, were able to push through it enough to close last season?
I feel like anytime, you win the games that we won, then you find ways to push through, and I think our guys mentally and physically did a great job of that, and without a doubt, and I think obviously you always, when you look back at it, and you don't end the season the way you want to, you're always going to want more. It's just the competitive nature of you, and you're going to always look at that and say, hey, I want to be better, and that's going to be part of the process every single year. So I think you want to continue to grow, you want to continue to get better, and you hold yourself to a standard of what you want, and you continue to shoot for that.
Ken,
You're competitive. Sean's competitive. He's got a new role now. Obviously, a lot more hands-on with defense. How's that? Yeah. How's that dynamic? Knowing that, knowing that he's also your boss, so you gotta be careful.
Yeah, no doubt. No, it's been great, and I got so much respect for Sean, not only as a play caller and what he's done as that, but also as the leader of this organization, this team. I mean, he does such a good job and is probably so undervalued, I think, around the league for the type of guy he is, the type of coach he is, the type of human being he is, father, husband. Like, he's just a great human and a great leader for us. So, I mean, I've learned so much from just being around him in this role. Obviously I was around him when he was a coordinator, but, it's such a different role, for him here, obviously. And it's just been great to learn from him, and a lot of fun this year just kind of going in and competing against him because, he does make things tough on you, which is great, which is exactly what you want as an offense. You want a defense is going to make it tough on you so that you can continue to grow and have those tough challenges in practice.
Just want to go back to last year a little bit. When you go back and self-scout a little bit, look at things. Obviously, you're not going to say exactly what teams did. Did you find maybe the teams adjusted certain ways, and now you're looking at that and saying, okay, this is how they countered what we did, which is how you formulate your offseason, like what goes into formulating the offseason plan when you're coming into this year based upon those kinds of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I think what we looked at more so than anything is okay, how can we grow as an offense, and how can we adjust things to potentially help our guys out and create matchups and create things for us to keep a defense off balance more so than anything. So I think the biggest thing was looking at not only, how to help Josh, but, also how to help the guys out up front, how to help, the receivers out and tight ends. So, I think we took a good look at things and made sure that, what we were running last year, did we like it? And I think for the most part, we really did. There are some concepts you look at and you're like, okay, let's put this on the back burner for now. Especially once things get settled with your personnel and everything like that, because you don't want to have guys doing stuff that, doesn't maximize what they can do physically and mentally. So we really went back and took a look, and I think more so than anything, you look inside kind of the building and inside of what we have personnel-wise, and then what we're doing schematically to make sure everything's tied together.
In that same vein, Josh has made it a point of emphasis, he said, to cut down on the turnovers. How can you help him both in a setting like this, preparation-wise, and then on game days in that regard?
Yeah, I think that's something that, you always focus on as an offense, because I think anytime you could protect the football and really stay on the field, it's going to create more and more opportunities for you, and you don't want to live in the world like the playoff game where, we have the turnovers, but we're still able to put up points and have success, but you don't want to live in that world. You know what I mean? So I think Josh does a great job really kind of evaluating himself and evaluating the things he wants to work on and things that we've talked about. And but it's not just that. It's the ball security by all of our ball carriers and those things. It's, ball security starts with guys up front as well. So it all ties together. It ties together with getting population of the football. When guys are running downfield, getting guys to the ball. So if something does happen, we got guys there to get on it. So there's a lot of things that go into ball security. It's never just one individual. Obviously Josh is in the position he is and is as high profile as anybody in terms of, the position he plays, but it's never just one individual when you're talking about ball security.